Today we are back with the Datsun 280z build series, and today is an exciting day. If you guys don't know what's going on, this car we have been building on the channel for quite a while now, and we are finally getting to the brake system. But first, I want to introduce myself to some of you guys that are new out there. My name is Grayson McTaggart. I like making car videos, and right now we are working on my Datsun 280z. If that sounds cool to you, be sure to subscribe down below so you don't miss any of the videos that we put out with this car, and soon it will be running and driving, and I cannot wait to make videos on the road with it. So if that sounds cool to you, be sure to subscribe. But anyways, today what we are doing is we are actually installing a new brake system on the front of the Datsun. In a previous video, you guys know that we took off the old brake caliper when we put in some coilovers, and so today we are putting in not only a new caliper, but also a new rotor. Here is the caliper and rotor in question. We have this Wilwood red brake caliper, along with a slotted vented rotor for the front. I'm very excited to do this. I've never done anything like this before, and so let's go ahead and get into it. I'm really excited to have new brakes on the car. One thing that we kind of struggled with was the car stopping in the past just because the old calipers and rotor combination wasn't cutting it. So these should make it stop no problem. If you noticed, I've already kind of pretty much done this side on a live stream, but I'm gonna show you guys how to do it on this side today. First, we need to start by taking off this wheel. Basically, once you have the wheel and tire off, you just remove this hubcap piece. I just use like a chisel thing and knock it off of there. A chisel and hammer combination, knock it off. And then there's a little cotter pin that holds in the whole wheel assembly, the bearing and everything. So if you use just some pliers, you can kind of bend that out of the way. I just broke mine. I would just have to get a new one, but I just broke mine. That happens. And this should just come right out. So here's the cotter pin. Obviously mine broke. It's supposed to be the same length all the way out, but just bend that, take it out, and there you go. After that, you got a bunch of grease and stuff in the way. You take this piece off, and then there is a big nut that holds the wheel bearing in and the whole hub assembly. So what you want to do is you just want to take this nut off. Once you get that nut off, everything can come out. It helps if you kind of give it a little tug there. And then here's the bearing and the bearing like plate that holds it in. And then once you do that, the entire hub assembly, it should just come off. Should just come off just like that, and there you go. Next, once you have this off, you'll see that there is 4 bolts that you kind of have to remove. And these are the hardest part of this install, I think. Other than the brake line, which the brake lines, mine are actually stripped, so I'm gonna have to probably take those somewhere else to get them off. But other than the brake lines, these are the hardest part of this install, is getting these off. Some may come out really easy, some may not. You may have to use heat. For the other side, I had to use a propane torch to heat these up and cool down so that these would come out easier. I'm hoping that if I use enough liquid wrench and like PB blaster and a impact, that these will come out a little easier. If you guys do watch my TikTok live stream, you saw that whole process of me struggling with getting this out, and you know it was not super easy. So we're gonna try to do it today and just hope that the impact does it. If not, then we're gonna have to go through an entire process to get this wheel hub off. To be clear, if you just buy new hubs at the same time that you buy a new rotor and everything, you're not gonna have to do this. You just leave the two connected, the two old ones, and you just toss the entire thing or sell the entire thing, and then you just put the new hub and rotor combination on together. Honestly, that may make your life a little easier. If you're doing a whole new brake install, might as well do new hubs at the same time. Maybe change the bolt pattern, maybe just reduce some weight by getting some lighter weight hubs, whatever. I know TechnotoyTuning has some, I'll link them down below. That's also where I got these brakes, so huge shout out to them. First, we're gonna do a generous amount of PB blaster. This thing is a lifesaver when working on old cars and new cars, frankly, but basically this is just a penetrating oil that helps break loose old bolts that are like rusted in place. It breaks down a lot of that rust and stuff and really seeps into the threads to help you get out those old bolts. So for these, I'm going to use a deep socket, and it's going to be a 14. Any way that you find better to do it, by all means, but I'm still kind of new to working on cars. And just, oh wow, that one came out really easy. So anyway, the Deep 14 worked with the PB blaster so far. We got one out. Let's see if we can get the other 3 out. And just like that, all 4 bolts are out. Now I'm pretty sure this thing should just come off with a little persuasion from a mallet. With some gentle persuasion. Now I know I could get these rotors resurfaced rather than just installing new ones. Someone decided to point that out many times on my live stream that I could just get these resurfaced. But I can still keep these old rotors if I really need them, but they're starting to rust in places where you can't just get them resurfaced. For example, on the back of them, this is all rusted. And I would like the vented rotors. It helps dissipate gases and stuff like that. If you don't like it, then too bad, but that's what we decided to do. Yeah, see, all this debris coming off my brakes, it just doesn't sit well with me, so I just got new rotors. After some gentle persuasion with the mallet and the pry bar, this is the hub. As you can see, you can get all this out. I'm eventually gonna take my wheel bearings and everything to get them repressed into here. I'll get the old ones out and get all this cleaned up, but for now, I just wanna get the brakes on the car. If you are doing this and you have the means to do it, I would do the wheel bearing and everything at the same time as while you have this hub off. Just a heads up, I'm not doing it right now, but I'd recommend you doing it if you have the capability to. So I went ahead and got those old ones off, and this is everything laid out. So here is everything that's going back into the car. Now I did buy this brake kit from TechnotoyTuning. I'll link them down below. These guys are awesome. If you guys ever order anything from them, their build quality is super nice. I guess you could order these pieces from Wilwood, but TechnotoyTuning makes all the brackets to put it onto your Datsun or your old Japanese car. And so if you look at the build quality and the fit and finish of this, it's just so nice. Nice anodized, CNC'd piece, and something that I think really highlights just the little attention to detail with TechnotoyTuning is they actually put the foot-pounds by each bolt hole. So you know what to torque everything down to, so you're not like reading through a manual, and if you take it off, you don't need to go search for the torque spec. All you gotta do is look on the part, and it tells you exactly how much you need to torque everything down to. I think that's super awesome. Not only that, they label all of the bags, caliper to bracket, bracket to spindle, rotor to hub with all of their hardware. So they make this as easy as possible. If you are new to working on cars, or if you're just disorganized like me, they make this as easy as possible to install yourself. So I highly recommend checking out TechnotoyTuning. You're gonna pay a little more money for them, but I think it's worth the ease of install, that just the making everything easier, so you're not just searching and trying to test fit bolts or guess torque specs. I definitely recommend them. Anyway, let's get this on. So basically how this is going to all work here is this piece is going to mount right here, I believe, like this, and then the caliper is going to mount to this piece, and then the rotor obviously mounts back to the hub with this new hardware. So all pretty self-explanatory right here. Along with this, they actually give us a new braided brake line, so I'm gonna try to get that on today. The only issue is I don't know if I'm gonna be able to get this old one off today. So we're gonna try, but no guarantees there. Now that I have the hub off of the car and off of the old rotor, I'm gonna go ahead and attach the new rotor to it. So here's the new rotor from Wilwood. It is a slotted rotor. I ordered this again from TechnotoyTuning, so huge shout out to them. This thing looks so clean. I ordered the slotted rotor because the slots will actually help dissipate gas while also help with cooling and stuff like that, so brakes are a little more efficient. And I didn't go with drilled because drilled like to crack a little easier from what I've heard. I'm no professional, none of this is really professional, it's just what I've heard and what I've read, but I would decide to go with slotted rotors. And the cool thing about these is these are vented, so they will help with cooling. They'll make sure to keep the brakes cool, so I'm very excited for these. So to do this, I went ahead and printed off the instructions from TechnotoyTuning And so I'm pretty much just following what these say to the letter. If you want to get these instructions, I'll link TechnoToy down below and you can go find them there. This will definitely help explain a little further what I'm saying. Okay, so once you got everything together, from my interpretation of the instructions, this is what it's supposed to look like. You have the hub, the spacer, and then the rotor, which pretty much matches what I did on the other side, so I think I'm pretty confident that this is how it goes. There was a little bit of confusion. This picture, I think they used the Wilwood, or not the Wilwood, but the TechnotoyTuning hub, so it looks a little bit different. Not only that, they also used the slotted and drilled rotors, so it's a little different, but from what I can tell, this is how it's supposed to go. However, double check me on that. If you're doing this yourself, definitely look at the instructions and see what they say there as well. But now that I have this assembled, let's go ahead and put it back on the car. So we've used a torque wrench a lot during this job and I haven't really gone over it, so I want to kind of just quickly explain how a torque wrench works. And it's very similar to a ratchet, has two directions, and it only goes one way at a time. Basically how this works is you have different torque specs right here that you can set your adjustment to. There are digital ones of these, which I don't have. I just have the traditional one right here. Basically, whatever you set it to, it will click and give way when you get to that torque spec. So for example, I'm at 30 foot-pounds right now. If you listen closely, whenever I pull, it's gonna make a click. That means I have arrived at my specified torque. Now, if I set it to a higher torque, it won't click as soon. But basically, you'll tighten until you hear the click, and then it basically won't let you go past that. If you overpower it, you could risk breaking your torque wrench or over torquing a bolt. While ratchets are good for most things to get things tightened down, and they get it tightened down really tight, you can't have the precision that you can have with the torque wrench. The ratchet gets you most of the way there, but then the torque wrench tells you exactly what you're at and how you should keep it there and not go over or under that. Anyways, these are a must-have if you really want to get working on cars and get into like more technical stuff rather than just exhausts. This is definitely a must-have tool. I'll link one down below if you want to pick one up for yourself. Okay, now that we have everything put back together, a quick test to make sure everything is fit properly is if you spin the rotor and hub setup and nothing makes noise, nothing scrapes, nothing rubs against it. If you notice that this is fully installed right here, you saw we had it torqued down to the right spec, and nothing is scraping and fits perfectly. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and try to install these brake pads. This is a pretty self-explanatory setup, but just to make sure you guys know what you're doing, and also in case I mess up, you guys can yell at me in the comments. I'm pretty sure this is how it goes. Now, keep in mind, double check this when you do this yourself. I am not a professional. I make videos on the internet, and you probably shouldn't be listening to me, but I'm here to help show you my process and how I solve things. If you guys can see, I have the brake pad right here. This black piece is facing the caliper, while this gray kind of gritty side faces the rotor. You slide it in and you line up these holes right here. These holes hold it in place with that retainer pin that we took out a second ago. And then basically you do the same thing with this side, but it is facing the other way. So this gray piece faces the rotor still, and this black piece faces the caliper. So basically it's going to sandwich that rotor in place. Make sure that all those holes are lined up, and what you're gonna do is take this retainer piece right here, put it back together, and just like that, everything is back together. Now if you notice, this still spins freely. You may get some slight rubbing from those pads, but that's just because they're brand new and they're not worn in. Eventually I will do a drum to disc brake conversion in the back, but for now I'm not going to tackle that job, and that will be a separate video. But for now I'm just installing these front rotors on the Datsun. So I hope this helped you guys a lot. If you liked the video, be sure to leave a like down below. And if you want to see more Datsun content like this, then please let me know. What I'm going to go ahead and do is go ahead and put the wheel back on, but that's pretty much it. If you just want to know how to install these brakes, that is how you do it. But if you want to see what they look like on the car, I'm going to go ahead and put the wheel back on and drop the vehicle so you can see exactly how good they look on this 1978 Datsun 280Z. And just like that, the wheel is back on the car, and it looks so good with those Wilwoods and those slotted rotors hidden back there. This just looks incredible. These definitely look way better than the stock rotors. In fact, these clearances are actually a lot better than I thought they would be. So I was a little concerned that none of this would actually clear. I was concerned that this may hit this brake or something along the lines of that. But these are designed for 15-inch wheels, which these are 15s as you can tell. But these are 15-inch wheels, so they fit perfectly. There's no clearance issues, at least nothing that I can see of so far. But all said and done, they look incredible. The Wilwoods with those slotted rotors behind those Watanabes look amazing. I absolutely love how this turned out. I won't be doing the brake test today because, again, I am waiting on hard brake lines to come in the mail to do an entire brake system setup on this car. But we will be starting it very soon, and I will give you guys a sneak peek of what that looks like with the engine bay. But I'll show you guys that more in another video. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please leave any questions that you have for me down below. This is not an easy install, and I will make plenty more videos explaining in depth on what to do after you get these brakes installed, such as bleeding brakes, how to run hard brake lines, everything like that. So if you're looking forward to those videos, please subscribe down below so you don't miss any of the content that I put out in the future. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye.